This is a quick real estate update from Jere Metcalf Partners, real estate agents on the ground in Atlanta. We're talking about what it's like, what to expect, the pros, the cons, and what to consider to align yourself and your loved ones for the best opportunities. All right, everybody, it's the JMP Eavesdrop. We have Bridgett, Adam, and Jere. You may have noticed there's a new face today, Gregg Metcalf. We'll tell you a little bit more about him in a minute. We're talking about the market and what it's doing. So we've talked about this before. I've got some notes to be sure I get these numbers right, but the economy has added a solid 661,000 jobs, and the unemployment rate has dropped from 8.4 to 7.9 after peaking at 15% in April. These are updates that are in September. So the word is the market continue, the trajectory is even better, is on track to improve from that. The economy has recovered over half of the jobs that were lost in March and April. The August pending home sales have jumped 8.8% from July. They are up over 25% from a year ago, same time this year, which is really like, we've not just recovered, but the market is better, much better this year than last year. And the inflation rates are at 1.6% versus the goal of staying at 2. We're below 2. All of that being said, the market's good. People are moving. People are buying. We've been talking a lot about, are we working at home or not? So our special guest here, Gregg Metcalf with Jones Lang LaSalle, specializes in representing companies who lease office space, and he's going to give us the real inside scoop. Gregg, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Or to the Eavesdrop. Eavesdrop.
Yeah,
it's not a show.
good to be part of the Eavesdrop. It's interesting in the office world what's happening and really how it's impacting both of our businesses.
Gregg, before you continue,
sure.
I want everybody to know who they're listening to right now. He's the guy who brought Mercedes to Atlanta. What companies can you quote that you represent across the country? So this is a global perspective.
Resnick, I represent SAP, Cisco Systems, Altisource, Aquin Financial.
Representing their accounts across
different businesses
in the world. Right.
So I represent the businesses occupying office space, which is why this is relative, just because of our COVID world. Our office space has become our home. And so it's a direct kind of correlation between Jere and I's worlds during coronavirus. My background right now, I'm working from a second home right now, as in Rosemary Beach, because we can, and it's a different world. A lot of people seem to think that office is going away and we're not going to have any office anymore, and that's a myth that I'll dispel. We've seen the same myth occur many years ago in the early 2000s, and it's a fail. Businesses need to create.
Let's start with, Gregg. I want to make sure we ask you some good questions.
Sure.
We've been talking on the Eavesdrop about the fact that people are buying houses because they're working from home a lot. And sometimes we're like, are we just going to be working from home forever? What's going on? And what are the conversations happening behind the scenes with these companies? What are the decisions they're making that can help everybody understand where they're really going to be working next year and in 5 years and 10 years?
So that's exactly kind of what has happened in the past, but even to a more extreme, because people are working from home now. And I think there will be a permanent change in the office environment. And as you guys know, in the home environment, it's going to be important at your home to have a good place that you can go to work. But it's not going to eliminate the concept of going to an office entirely, as some may think. And in fact, some of the smaller tech companies have gone that route. And as leases roll, they're not renewing them. I think what they're going to learn is what companies like Yahoo have learned in the past, that when they send everybody home, companies lose their culture. They lose their inability to mentor and recruit young talent. And it's a changing world. So that will not happen. But will happen is the way we work will in fact change. There's going to be hopefully less traffic, because a lot of folks will work rotation and work from home and work from the office during the week, depending on their schedules. And as a result, the work workplace environment within the office will change. In fact, it will shrink, but not to the extent of what a lot of people think. It's not likely businesses are going to cut their space in half, but they're certainly going to have a large reduction, 10, 20%, depending on the type of business in their footprint, because people will hotel. It's not necessary to have an address or a set desk. Adam's nodding his head because we had a discussion the other day, and he worked with a group where he experienced just that. They were forward thinking in their process by hoteling.
Do you want to delve into that? So,
Adam?
Yeah. So prior to my real estate career, I worked in corporate office where we downsized from a building that was 14 floors to one that was 5. And the way we did that is no one had permanent seats. Everyone, you would log in and reserve a seat the next day for wherever you wanted to sit in the building, depending on if you were going into the office or not. And so that way you still had a desk and a computer set up if you wanted to go into the office, but at the same time, you didn't have to go in there every single day. So I experienced this about 3 or 4 years ago in that space. And Gregg and I talked about it earlier this week and how now that may start shifting, more and more companies doing that. They were kind of ahead of the curve in that.
Sure. NCR just built out 2 brand new buildings in Midtown for NCR, brand new construction, and they're addressless. No one has an office, inclusive of the CEO. It's just a different way to work. And I think what COVID has taught us is that we can do that. We can adapt. Really what we need to work is our laptop. For me, historically, it's always been working from home, working from an airplane, working from a hotel room, wherever you are, working at your second home.
Here's a question for our listeners, because we're getting a lot of stories here and helping our listeners understand how they need to think about what is it really going to mean at work. A lot of our listeners and clients are business owners. What kind of decisions do I need to make? Because it sounds like there are some companies that have gone completely office free. And when they do that, the assumption on my part, and maybe I don't know about everyone else, is that means they are working from home or they're not ever going to an office. In the residential world, does that mean we really need to have a really good office at home? Or does it mean we can live anywhere on the planet and work from there?
So the answer is it depends, but I'd say that the overwhelmingly larger proportion of businesses will maintain and continue to have office space. But what's important to know from a home perspective is, yes, indeed, you've got to have an at-home environment that you can work in as an alternative. Because look, the modern workplace strategy is going to involve some work at home, as it is pretty much anywhere, whether it's your second home as well. I think the second home market's probably on fire, I would guess. And if your business is on fire, generally speaking, a lot of people have been in their house and don't like it, right?
But that's, I think, a personal thing too, Jere. Keep in mind, that's a personality thing. Like when I leave town, I don't really like to work. You handle it really well. So, right? Like some people are going to.
Yeah, you could argue if I handle it well. I just work wherever I am. But
right. But I like to take a minute and pretend that I'm like a family person when,
it's a fantasy.
Pretend.
Right.
But for the beach house to talk, I have a client who lives in Texas and is buying a home in along 30A somewhere right now.
Gregg is right now working.
Right. She does not own in Texas. She is choosing to continue to rent in Texas and buy her second home. That's her first.
We're going to see, I think a lot of certain job roles can work from anywhere. My role, for example, I just need an airport. I can generally work from anywhere, any city that I want to be in. And that's going to be ever changing as well. And I think you need to consider businesses as a whole have migrated, and Mercedes is a great example, but have migrated away from the bigger cities and the high tax environments and the bad weather environments. And they've migrated to more business friendly type environments. And Atlanta is a big recipient of that, as is any Sunbelt city. Phoenix sees a lot of migration from California. Because of the business environment there. But take that one step further and you add to the fact that we're untethered Many business owners certainly, as well as certain employees, are untethered, and so instead of just the business moving, people can start moving to secondary and really tertiary markets like Asheville or here on 30A, and work from there. And it's going to be a changing environment. Will I still have an office location if I were to move to here? Absolutely, but not necessarily in the city where my home is.
Wow. It's just like, so Gregg, everybody who doesn't know, he's my husband. I'm starting to worry that he's going to be living in the house in the beach and I'm going to be in Atlanta, but hey, we can talk on Zoom every once in a while. Just kidding. And then Bridgett, your client's doing the same thing. Yeah. So this is great insight. I think this gives a lot of clarity to the conversations that we've been having about what people look for in their homes, what people are buying, where are they moving, where are they going, where they come from, and the big one, why. Any other things we want to add to this, everybody, before we close this out?
I think the big why is because we can. Everybody's figuring out that you can accomplish a lot.
Exactly. Awesome. All right, everybody. Good to see y'all. I'll see you soon again today. And you, Gregg, I'll see you when I get to the beach.
All right.
And hopefully you'll be coming back with me.
Hope so. Yeah.
Thank you to our ambassadors and clients for your support of Jere Metcalf Partners, where our mission is to deliver the best service and the best results for our clients' needs, their wants, and their families.